The Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show. Here we go.
What up, thou? Live and direct right here, right now on Who-Bangin Sports. We got your guy. He's almost Big Ragoo, but not all the way there. But he is one of the greatest cappers on totals that I know of, hands down. And he's undisputed, the king of unders. My man Nolly knows. Nolly knows, how you feeling today?
Oh, feeling real good, real Ragoo-ish, I'm Ragoo in training, I'm the prodigy. That's what you could call me right now. Doing real good. Thanks for having me, man. I'm ready to talk some college football. I've been sitting on the bench, maybe I could earn a spot now,
Never sitting on the bench over here on Who-Bangin, man. You're always welcome. But we did discuss earlier in the year you coming on the show. Of course, we wanted to wait till we deep in the season when the numbers are real and we can take better angles and looks at that under. And let's say, I ain't gonna even say unders. I'm gonna just be modest and say totals, and decide where we're gonna draw a line on this one. Let me give a quick Twitter post real quick before we get going, so we can get some of our guys in here that got any questions, and all 1,000 of y'all in there right now. Be sure to ask any questions if you like in the chat. That's a great place to land your questions. We definitely get to them, and whatever it is, we try to give you our best thoughts on that. And shout out to my guy Big Ragoo. He's in good health and everything. Just a little busy today. He had to do some things. We do have some stuff to do this weekend. Breeders' Cup coming up, all that good stuff. So he might not make it with us today. He's always got the invitation, but if he comes, that'd be great. If not, we got Nolly knows in his beginning stages of Ragooism right now. And just for all of those that follow me, man, I wasn't on the show on Saturday over on Pub Sports, man. I've been getting back and forth ill and stuff, but I'm feeling great now. I'm back together. I'm good. I'm not 100%. I'm probably 98%. I still got to do some walking and talking to some doctors and some stuff like that and get to where we're getting with this. But I am back here on a Wednesday. I really tried to make it on Saturday, man, but I kind of felt bad. 2 Saturdays in a row, didn't make it on the show. Got some love in my DM, get well and all that stuff. So I'm better, y'all. I'm better. So let me send this tweet out, and then we can jump right into the good stuff. You ready to jump into the good stuff? You got anything you want to tell them about baseball? Anything you want to go over before we get into the college stuff?
Well, I got 2 games going right now. I got a full game under right now. Phillies Astro World Series 0-0 going to the bottom of the second right now. I also got the Western Michigan Bowling Green under 47.5. That one's looking good. I believe it's at halftime, either 6 or 9-0. I didn't get to see what happened there, but both games looking good so far. Still early.
That's what I'm talking about. Always looking good is a good thing, and that's one of the things I learned from my man Nolly knows. Taking these unders and stuff, under you got to ride it out till the clock ends, because it's always an opportunity to score it. The over's a little different, once it's reached the point and it's over, you can go lay it down. But the under, you got to sweat it out. But guess what? That's what we like, man. It ain't good if I ain't getting no sweat and preparation and all that good stuff, that goes along with, being I ain't gonna call myself a gambler, but being a professional sports bettor. You got to be sitting on the edge of your seat, collecting those wins. And remember, folks, it's not about, being on the other side when people on the other side. It's just about winning. And being on your seat for these unders is a great thrill ride. It really makes you trust your capping and trust what you do, this is just things I learned from hanging around this guy. And, that's where we are right now. So we're right here in the 10th week of college football. What does that mean? That means that some people are making plans for that portal. Some people are making, gotta reach their quotas and get to them bowl games before they get fired and all that. We lost Brady Harsin last year. I told y'all all year it was gonna happen. It was a matter of time, and we rode it all the way out till it happened, and we cashed last week, faded them. So we got a few more this week. First up, Where'd he go? Bingo. Michigan State versus Illinois. And once again, we going to attack this right there where there's blood in the street. You know, we know what happened with Michigan State right there and everything last year. But this Illinois team has been phenomenal, guys. If you're not watching Illinois and you're not paying attention, that's your fault because Illinois has been doing a great, basically like pro-style offense, and they've been getting me to the window with the unders and some wins on their side too. So let's jump into a share screen. And Nolly, you want to take first shot at this, or you want me to go over what I got?
Whatever you like, man. I'm just the protege. I'm learning here, taking notes.
Well, I'm gonna let you go ahead and take flight on it right now, okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and bring up the covers so we can look at some numbers. I'm gonna tell you guys. Usually, I'm 100% prepared for the show. I have one game that I thoroughly capped, but all the rest, I'm capping them right here with y'all today. We're going over this. Pretty much nothing's gonna be too official unless I say so. But we're going through some terms and some numbers and stuff with y'all today. Okay, so enjoy this trip. I've done this before when I did the show by myself before, and it was really great. We had a good time doing that one, so we're gonna keep it rolling today. First up, we're gonna go into this Michigan State game right here. Let me scroll on down to the numbers. Nolly, go ahead and give them a briefing of where you at with this game right here, and then we'll pull up some numbers and we'll double check them and dot some I's and cross some T's.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about it a little bit, had those issues against Michigan in the tunnel there, about 8 guys getting suspended. There's the additional 4 getting suspended today. So, I mean, how's that locker room? This is a team that had really high expectations going into the season. Here they are really sputtering as of late. And so how's this team going to respond? I mean, not going to be expecting much of anything going against a tough Illinois team. You talked about it. They're number 1 in the country in points allowed, 10 points allowed versus FBS teams. And really a team that's really been putting it on their opponents all season long. A team that likes to run the ball quite a bit. They rank 7th in the nation in rush attempts per game, 46.7 rush attempts per game. So they really just grind it out, like you mentioned, and so it's going to equate to a lot of unders. 5-2 to the under on the season, covering the number by an average of 10.1 points. I was on the last game with them against Nebraska, and the same thing. Really was very stingy. Only allowed 62 yards rushing and only 9 points that they allowed, right about their average there. And Michigan State, a team that's really struggled to stay on the field, 113th in third down conversion rate. They only run 62 plays a game, and they run a high pace. Their seconds per play, they're high, like 25th, but plays per game, only 62.3 because they just can't stay on the field. So I think they got a tough ass here going against Illinois on the road, and it's hard for me to try to back Michigan State. I think you got to try to lay the points with Illinois, but more so, I mean, the total is sitting there looking at you. Illinois likes to run the ball. That's what they do. They're very low. They average under 200 yards passing a game, very low in college football, about 190. So a team that's going to run the clock and control the ball. I think they control about 60% time possession. So that's one of the highest in the nation as well. So you know what they want to do, grind it out. I like the under. There's no reason why not to.
I mean, I definitely was attracted to this game by the under as well. Like you said, 2-5 to the under for Illinois, and also 3-5 to the under for Michigan State right here. Michigan State also 0-3 on the road. That could play a big factor on the side. And Illinois is 5-0 at home. So I think we have a two-headed monster right here where due to both teams really going under, including the drama that's been displayed from last week, I don't see many Michigan State players getting up to come to this game to do anything different or anything like that. And Brett Bielema over here, coach of Illinois, he runs a post-out offense. He's never in a rush to do nothing exciting or crazy. He wins off of persistence and doing things right. And I think that's what he's going to do here. And when I said we're looking at a two-eyed monster right here, because we got action on the under and we also got action on the side. It's 17 points right now. It started at, I believe, 15 and a half. And, if you take away some of the drama that happened last week, it might have went down maybe even a little more than that, maybe 10, somewhere up in there. But they were going to be a big favorite over this team anyhow, just, from their performance anyhow. So this is a spot where I say, hey, go ahead and play the under as a concrete bet, putting all your numbers together and standing by them, but also play the side as well, just for a great opportunity for a team to come in and grab a awesome win over this Michigan State team that's down right here. You got anything else on this one?
No, I mean, you mentioned it right there. Laying the points, double-digit numbers, and a total under 50. It just correlates. You look at both of their teams, the results last week, you would have hit, Michigan State losing 26-9, the same similar numbers over here for Illinois. So it just seems to correlate for some reason, but I like the under a little bit more myself.
I see the game at best 29-10 Illinois. We slide out of that under. Of course, we got to slide out of this under because, books have already set it pretty low. I don't think we'll get a 17-7 or nothing crazy like that. They're definitely going to cover by the double digits. Just all a matter of how many times Michigan State can get in that end zone. And Michigan State's been struggling getting the end zone all year. So that's no biggie to me. But let's go on and jump into the next one, man. We're going to keep this show rolling today. We got the real Nolly Nose back now that he lost his fedora. But let's jump into this one right here. Let me get I did cap this one, as a matter of fact, and I do have official play on this one. So let me go ahead and pull up my numbers on this one. Let's see here. Gotta stop that one real quick, and let me bring up another one. And you guys know from last time that this is my personal sheet that I use when I go over games right here. This is the good stuff right here. I usually don't let anybody get this one, but this is the good stuff. So this one right here, I'm going to go first on this one. Minnesota versus Nebraska, both in the Big Ten. Another spot where I see there's some interest right here in fading Nebraska. I mean, they lost their coach earlier in the season. They played through that a little bit. They're 3-5 total, 2-3 in the conference. They're not really going nowhere right now. And this is a point where I think some players are jumping off and getting ready to make their next move, their best move. Minnesota, on the other hand, they're 5-3. They've been playing some solid football. The 3 losses, they got caught up here and there, but a really good football team with PJ Fleck. We've been watching these guys for a long time right here, and they're trending to the under as well. They're 3-4. I mean, they're 3-4 to the under. And Nebraska, they're 3-5 to the under. So 2 teams again that are both trending to the under right here. And Nebraska team who might give up on the field, dealing with the interim coach, not really knowing where the organization is going right here. Only thing maybe bright in their favor is it's some decent coaches out there looking for some jobs, and they can land a good one. But some of the value at some of the other schools like Auburn, maybe you could even say Georgia Tech. I mean, but getting into the Big Ten is a big squeeze as well. So they may get a good quality coach out of this one. Now, Minnesota won last at home, 31-0 versus Rutgers. And Nebraska, they took a home loss to Illinois, who I was on last week, 26-29. Nebraska has Michigan coming up next, and Minnesota has Northwestern. So Minnesota has a pretty good path towards maybe even playing in the conference championship, but we'll see, because the Big Ten is notorious for knocking each other off somewhere, somehow. Offense versus defense. We're looking at Minnesota with the 67th ranked offense going against the 106th ranked defense. They're giving up 480, 32 points a game, 41 attempts for 192 on the ground, 39 attempts for 288 in the air. So basically on defense, they really can't stop a lot. They're allowing teams to convert on third down at 43%. And on offense, Minnesota's been doing great. They're a run first team, 43 attempts a game, 211 on the ground. They only pass 23 times for 173. They're 59% on third downs. The sack rate is low at 7, 86% in the end zone. And as we look at it the other way, we're looking at Minnesota with the number 4 defense, only allowing 15 points a game to this upside down offense over here, ranked number 76. They're giving up 25 points. I mean, they're only scoring 25 points a game at 397 yards. Not much that they do on offense great at all, but Minnesota offense doing great. Giving up 29 attempts for 116 yards on the ground, 28 attempts for 169 yards in the air. And if you could take a team, how do you feel about this, Nolly? Teams right now that are averaging under 200 yards in the air versus team on their defense is average giving up less than 200 yards in the air. Are those play on teams for unders, or how do you take those squads?
I mean, that's a good start. Definitely, your air yardage is going to move the ball a lot quicker. Not just that, a team that's willing to throw the ball, going to create more incompletions, more opportunities to stop the clock. So whenever I see a team running the ball, and you got a team like that in Minnesota, let me see if I look up here. Minnesota overall in the country, 14th in rush attempts, 43.7. So I want to see them run the ball. You run the ball, you run the clock.
Absolutely, that's always in our favor. And the fact that Minnesota pitched a shutout last week, 31-0 versus Rutgers, that means a lot too. And Nebraska only getting up on the board against another very defensive team like Illinois to only score 9 points. I don't really see Nebraska scoring anything over 10 points this week. And I think we're going to have to – this total is 46.5 when I capped it. I'm not sure. What does it say on the screen right now? I can't even see it, but it's still at 46, so it went down to half a point. Is that what you got, Nolly?
Yes, sir. Yeah. This is a game I had to jump on myself. I watched this Minnesota team going back to last year. Defense, a real strong suit. But if you watch this team, one of the slowest teams in the nation, they're 129th out of 131 teams in seconds per play, 30.7 seconds per play. They're draining the clock. And it's a combination of two things. When they get the lead, they will just run out the clock. They will drain it out. And that's something that I would expect them to do. They run the ball a lot. I talked about the rush attempts, but their defense has been real good. They're 4th in points allowed. They're 7th in opponent third down conversion rate. So they played really well, and they're third in possession percentage, 59%, close to 60% percentage. So they hang on to the ball quite a bit, run the ball a lot. And so those numbers just going to equate to an under more often than not. Nebraska's offense hasn't been able to produce much of anything the last couple of weeks. And you see in these right here in this type of weeks, these kids figure out that we're really not doing much. So how are they responding? They're not coming out very much. And it's a difficult task going against a physical Minnesota team. I like the under. This one I like quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, this one is a play for me, and that's the under. The 6 gives me a little breathing room right there in this one. But I think Nebraska at most probably score about 2 touchdowns. But I think Minnesota keeps this under, maybe scoring about 27 or somewhere right there. I kind of lean taking the points with Nebraska at home because it's just a home game, up in Lingen. It's supposed to be these type of vibes or whatever. But we're not talking about week 5 or week 6 when we thought these guys was counted out and they kept playing. We're talking about week 10 now when people was like, hey, parents are calling, checking in on kids, like, what you going to do? We'll make our next move the best move. So I'm going to ride with it this time, taking the under. Like I said, I lean Nebraska. What you think about the side, Nolly?
I mean, I don't know. It's tough. I see the home angle, but I feel like we watched a similar movie last week when they went against Illinois, another team that's built very similar to this Minnesota team. They're physical. They'll punch you in the mouth and they'll run the ball. They stop the run, so it's similar things that I see that it's going to be a tough day for Nebraska, and it's going to be a very long day, and they're dealing with quarterback issues. Their quarterback is probably going to be out. Their backup suffered an injury, so they don't even know who's going to be in that quarterback. So I think it's a long day for Nebraska here. It's crazy to say it, but they correlate -16 and under 46. Minnesota, I think, much more physical team. I think they grind it out, even with the 16.
Right. You heard it right here first on the Boss and the Sauce show with my man Nolly Knows right here, and we definitely both booking that under on that one. So we're gonna jump on over to the next game right now. This is one I kind of picked off on Old Dominion's ability to play Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Yet and still, they really haven't hit the field with the offense that we was thinking. So I think they keep it under right here. This Marshall team, this one's a little risky because you never know what you get out of this Marshall team. But I always count them out when they're on the road. They're a much better home team at Marshall. So I like Old Dominion to just maintain. I think it's going to just be a sluggish, boring game right here. And I think this one stays under the total as well. I haven't got a good chance to look deep into these numbers right here. But from the outside looking in, I'm leaning hard towards the under right here with Old Dominion at home.
I mean, I can understand why you definitely would lean that way. You look at Marshall 7-1 to the under, covering the number by an average of 9.3 points per game. A big part of it, they're built very similar to the other two teams we talk about. 15th in rush attempts at 43, and opponents third down, they're first. They hold opponents to just 24%. Something that they've done. They held down Old Dominion last year to only 13 points in their game, 3 points in the second half. Total was set at 62. They're easy under 20-13 game. Marshall's defense has been a strong suit for them as well. I definitely see what you're saying there. The tough thing, with Old Dominion is their defense or lack thereof. They give up a lot of yards. They give up a lot of yards through the ground, and so that's a bit of a concern when I look at this game. But I mean, Marshall, the way that they run the ball and run the clock, I can understand it. And anything over 45 makes sense. But just Old Dominion's defense, man, they're bad.
Old Dominion's defense is bad. But
so
go ahead.
That's just the only thing that's scaring me off, because if Marshall, albeit that they do run the ball, I mean, yeah, Old Dominion's rush defense is giving up almost 200 yards rushing a game. So it's like if they break off a couple big ones, and a couple big defensive plays, which is possible, you're sitting right there peaking about 45, 47, maybe even the 50 zone. So that's what's keeping me off of this game, just that defense. But I could definitely see it, man.
Yeah, well, also, Old Dominion is 3-5 to the under, and Marshall's 1-7 to the under. So again, these were two teams that both are trending towards the under right here. And this Old Dominion team I capped earlier in the season. I was on them at the first few weeks out the gate. They were supposed to be better on offense. I think they returned 8 or 9 on offense this year. And they were really supposed to be better on offense, but at the beginning of the season, it was actually their defense that was keeping them together. But like I said, as they evolved for the year, they became more of like a sluggish team. We can take a look right here at some of their games right here. October 29th, 17-31. Georgia Southern, 23-28. When they played CCU, 49-21. So, yeah, sometimes they can get on the offensive things, and then sometimes against other defensive schools like Virginia right here was 14-16. So I'm not 1,000% on this bet right now. I'm going to continue to look deeper into this one, and it might be something that we jump on later. You got anything else left on this one, Nolly?
No, nothing for me here. I'll be staying off of this one.
That's right. And remember, it's always good to stay off. You only try to make a little money each week. You ain't got to clear the board every single week. You know what I'm saying? So let's jump into another one over here. Let me pull this one up. Next up, Michigan at Rutgers, and this is one my man Nolly brought to my attention right here. Another situation where there's blood in the street. We know what happened last week with Michigan State, and we're going to Rutgers. Rutgers was a really exciting team beginning of the season that I thought would have a change of fate for this year, but in all actuality, they didn't. They're still a bottom feeder right here. They're playing a awesome Michigan team who likes to run the ball and play great defense. So this is one, they could pitch a shutout right here, and we just be running the number next to we're running the number next to the under with Michigan. What you think? You think Michigan scores over 45 by themselves?
I mean, I think that's a tough thing to say, especially the respect that Harbaugh has for Greg Schiano. That's a factor that I always take into consideration because that might end up screwing you, especially when you're looking at a low total like this. Florida State screwed me. They had a minute left in the game. Could have sat down. Norvell decided to score. And then Georgia Tech even goes down and scores again. But, I mean, no respect there. You're not going to see that here in this game. You saw it last year in this game. It was 23 at halftime. And overall, Michigan just kept running the ball. I believe they ran the ball about 16 total times that game. So you saw what he was willing to do, just run out the clock. And here, Michigan, clear advantage. They got a really good defense. They're second in the nation scoring defense, only 11.5 points per game. But in their offense, albeit they get in the red zone a lot, they got one of the highest red zone attempts in the game, but one of the lowest conversion rates at almost 63%, just under 63%. So 45 attempts, only 28 touchdowns, really not getting it done. And I even remember at the end of the game last week, the announcer mentioned it. If you're not punching it in, you're not going to beat Ohio State. But it's plain and simple. So they're going to have to start punching the ball in there if they want to compete against the tougher teams. But here, going against Rutgers, I mean, it's an offense that's changing quarterbacks here, going with their youngster, the highest recruit that they've ever had at QB position in their history, and they need it. This is a team that ranks bottom of the barrel in almost every statistic, 124th passing yards per game. They're 120th in third down conversion, 124th in yards per play, just 4.1. And they don't run a whole lot of plays. They're 115th, and they run a really, really slow pace. Even with this quarterback, they're going to run a slower pace. They're 118th in seconds per play. So they're going to run the clock. That's what they're going to do. They're going to be run first because the guy's still going to learn. It's a tough ask going against this stingy defense. Michigan also really, really methodical with the ball. They're 127th out of 131 teams in seconds per play. Another big reason, they'll just run out the clock when they got that lead. You saw it over the last two blowout victories that they've had, running the ball well over 50 times. That's something that I would expect here again. Run the ball, just keep running it and run out the clock. I like the under here quite a bit here.
Well, I'm looking at this game right here. The head-to-head on these two teams last year, 2021, and we know what kind of Michigan team we had last year, 20-13 Michigan. In 2020, I would kind of like COVID season right there. I would judge it with a grain of salt, but Michigan barely squeezed that one out in OT, 48-42. But in 2019, back when football was regular, Michigan beat them 52-0, and in 2018, Michigan beat them 42-7. So I think we got a good Michigan team that normally beats this team right here. Also on some real maybe in something exotic or maybe just kind of throwing a rock at the wall. I think Michigan can cover that 26 in this game. Nolly, what you think about Michigan covering?
I mean, there's definitely a potential. I mentioned it with Illinois to Minnesota, kind of Minnesota to Michigan. These teams are built very similar. Michigan can definitely shut out this team. I will say that the youngster does spin the ball really well. He does throw the ball really well. He's got 2 weeks to prepare for this game. So does Rutgers come out a little early? Maybe, maybe they come out with a little bit of momentum there. But I think that's tough for me. I would say like on the other ones, lay the points, but 26, that's a little tight. I think that's a little hard in this one. But I'd say
Go for it.
I honestly want to say Rutgers first half. Maybe the spark that they get early on with the quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Well, Rutgers played some really tight games, and that's one thing I noticed at them overall is that they picked up their defense a little more than anything. And this started way back on September 17th when they played Temple 16-14. They played Iowa. That's a low-scoring team anyhow, but 10-27. Ohio State 10-49. Nebraska 13-14. Illinois 24-17. So some way, somehow in there, Rutgers has the ability to play some kind of defense, and they're playing at home right here. So I would expect them to bring that defense along with them and try to fend off Michigan in this one. But historically, if you want to take a historic angle on this one, I would definitely take Michigan and go ahead and lay the points. But I like your under right there. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get to the window with it, but it sounds really, really solid, to tell you the truth. The only thing that I'm worried about per se is, does Harbaugh feel like he's got to run it up to get in the playoffs or nothing? They're sitting in a good spot right now to go to the playoffs. Their main objective is getting past Ohio State and trying to win the Big Ten. And I don't think Rutgers is a big part of that. I don't think it's a look ahead spot or nothing like that. So I don't know. I think that 45, you're gonna really have to sit tight on your seat for that one, Nolly.
Nothing new, man. Nothing new.
My man Big Ragoo, he's in the chat. He says Michigan 31-10 all day. So he's authorizing it right there. And like I said, it's gonna be a tight one. That's 4 points or 5 points away from an over. But like we spoke of beginning of the show, if you want to play unders, it's something that you got to sit tight on your seat and have faith in your capping and take the good ones with the bad ones and roll it out like that. But week 10, that's another thing I talked about on some weeks back when you talk about freshmen and young players that played well early in the season. They stumble up later in the season right now because the workload of being an athlete, going to school, traveling, all that stuff, it compiles on them, and sometimes it can take away from their game and showing up late in the season. Maybe once bowl games and all that stuff, once school slowed down and stuff like that, they could get it together. But a lot of these coaches, they try to pair them with veteran players so they can teach them how to pack and teach them how to balance that kind of stuff out. So you could find a spot right here. Got to go through Rutgers players and see how young are they, or how old are they or whatever, and you might find another reason why to take that under right here. But that's all of our basic games that we already came into this one. Oh no, we got one more. I'm sorry, we got one more right here that I looked at. Georgia Tech versus Virginia Tech. That Virginia Tech defense has been really doing their thing out there, and this Georgia Tech team is another team. I'm not sure where the players at on this one because they're looking at a great hire. But it's ACC. There's SEC and Big Ten jobs out there. There's a Pac-12 job out there. I don't know how people weigh that, but this Georgia Tech job. They talk about Deion Sanders, all this different kind of stuff. So maybe some of those players a little excited to still be at Georgia Tech and might show up to play some football, but on the road you got to pack defense. So they'll be bringing defense into Virginia Tech, which is a tough place to play. And all Virginia Tech really has to rely on right now is their defense. So I would look more into this total and further away from the side right here because we don't know 100% what we're going to get out of either two of these teams. But have you took a look at this one, Nolly, and seen if there's any angles you see on the under?
I mean, I took a little bit of a look there, but I mean, Virginia Tech defense is the side that I really don't trust. I've seen them being torched by North Carolina in the air. Then I see them get torched by Pittsburgh on the ground. Then West Virginia torches them on the ground and up through the air. They get torched last week for almost 300 yards through the air. And my concern here is, have they adjusted too low? You look at the total from last week with this team, albeit a low total, just 21-22, but it goes over a closing line at 39. So have they gone too low with this Virginia Tech team? But, I mean, I get it. Both these teams rank 100th in a lot of offensive statistics. Teams that really aren't moving the ball all that much, but they really don't move the ball all that well through the ground. And so that's what I don't like to see. You know, controlling the possession is something that I would want to see a little bit more out of either team at a 40.5. And so that's why I'm going to stay off the total.
Well, I do see that we got a little precipitation over there, 61 degrees raining, and with some humidity as well in Virginia, but only 9.4 winds, so the ball still can probably get up in the air and move around. Might be a spot to go contrarian for all those that's watching that might want to go contrarian and take an over spot in this one. Let me take a look at
it's kind of like that feel, you know, like when the team, when it looks like a dead under and then it just flies way over. You know, that's kind of how this game kind of feels to me.
Yeah, many of people know me, and I have this theory about two teams that are too similar to each other can cause an adverse result where you think two teams are going to play low. And because they're so similar to each other and they practice basically against the same thing, the game kind of goes the other way and they can go over. So in the history of this game, in 21, Virginia Tech won 26-17. In 19, Virginia Tech won 45-0. In 18, they won. Georgia Tech won 49-28, and in 17, they won. Georgia Tech won again 28-22. So I haven't seen a 40 between this. I'm looking down the whole thing. You have to go all the way back to 2013 and 12 are the only 2 years where you got in total that was under 40. So this might be a big bias by the bookies, maybe weighing weather a little bit too loud. I think they might be trying to fool y'all right here. I'm not gonna mention the big O word with my man Nolly on the show, but y'all know what I'm talking about, right? So yeah, you might want to jump on that one as a contrarian. Two teams that might jump the other way. I think that might be something that I might entertain where I'm going to be at this weekend because I kind of like that adverse look right there.
And you don't mention weather. One thing I forgot to mention: Champaign, Illinois, where Illinois plays football. Wind in the beginning of the game should be sitting right about 25 mile an hour. So something that I'm going to be focusing on. Might sprinkle a little bit more, but I'm going to tell you, Illinois is still a running team, predominantly a running team. So I'm still on the game regardless of the wind. But if that wind is up there and a higher ticking, I'm going to put a little bit extra on it. So I'm going to keep tabs on that.
That's a part of Nolly's game. He just won't teach you, man. He just won't teach me when to put the icing on the cake. He helped me bake the cake, decorate the cake, all that. But I say, Nolly, when do I put the icing on and get my pockets fat like you? He like, hey, you got to slow down. You just a youngster out there. You got time to go. You got to go through the road, So I'm taking my time at that one. But we'll see what happens this weekend. So now we're going to move into a part of the show that we added. Have you seen this part of the show that we have? Nolly, is called Shooting from the Hip.
No, it got me a little nervous and you're adding segments.
Well, let me tell you a little bit more about Shooting from the Hip. Shooting from the Hip is a part of the show. We kind of go over plays that are more of a look than something that we, stuff that jump off the board when you first see it, but you like, I'm not going to take the time to get involved with that game. There's too much more meat on the board. But even those games, when all the games are done and you do your final stuff Sunday morning and look at you like, dang it, I should have took that one. I felt a little tingle on my thigh when I looked through that one. And I was like, I should have took it, but I took something else. So that's any plays that you kind of looked at like that. And this is the part of the show, like I said, we call Shooting from the Hip. Let me go to my page right here on my Shooting from the Hip. So definitely Shooting from the Hip. I'm taking a look at Notre Dame and Clemson, man. I don't know why the line's so low. I mean, I do, but I don't. Like, I get what's going on in Notre Dame on the offensive side of the ball, but I'm not sure if it has a lot of longevity. I think basically if you look at the games Notre Dame is winning, they basically winning all these games in the trenches. The games that they are allowed to win the trenches, they have no problem winning. But when they came win the trenches, it's a whole different thing. I mean, it still goes back to the quarterback's very short. They have to find throwing lanes for him to throw the ball, which he's been getting it out there, but he's been really going to the same guy every time, the big tight end Myers, to keep him on the board. He hasn't developed many good, players out there. The thing that is developing that I really like about Freeman right now is the running game. He went to some Stanford type double tights with motion, overload left, overload right type looks. And some teams, we all know they use that a lot in high school and a lot of different places. That double tights and the unbalanced line, it can confuse the assignments on defense. But the running backs that he's developing, they're running smash mouth straight through that every time. And they did a good job of that last week and won. But I don't know if the bookie is carrying that over for us to have an upset, because Clemson has one of the best defensive lines, in college football. And I don't know if Notre Dame's line is going to be up to the task right there. But, I bleed Notre Dame, and I'm always want to win some money on my team. But I might have to go fan bet on the side right here. And I've been taking Notre Dame. I think they had the house this week, right? I've been trying to get the under on the road, and I haven't been able to create that under on the road. Whereas at home, it still stands by Notre Dame tradition that we're not trying to beat teams and run the score up. We just want to win and sing our little song and dance at the end. So I'm not really sure where I want to go with this one right here, but I kind of want to take the fan bet and take Clemson minus the 3.5. What you think about this one, Nolly?
Oh man, this one a little bit tough. I mean, I get what you're saying with Notre Dame, but one concern with Notre Dame and getting involved with their totals, what I've seen over the last few games, a lot of turnovers, 5 turnovers over the last 3 games. And watching that Syracuse game, that's what happened. Turnovers started happening, and all of a sudden the points started flooding. It looked like a dead under, then the points started flooding. So I get what you're saying. With Clemson overall, offense not really moving that much. The defense should be able to slow them down a bit. I mean, this one's tough. I look at the rush attempts for Notre Dame, 50s almost every game. That's something that's going to tell me to bet the under. But I mean, I think it's tough. I get what you're saying. The 44 doesn't seem to make sense when I look at Notre Dame's numbers. It seems more so to make sense when you look at last year's score, just 34-10. So they expecting something similar here. I mean, I think that's what they're trying to tell me. But me personally, this game, just too many turnovers really from Notre Dame. Short field advantage and things like that, not going to get involved for me.
Yeah, I mean, this is – and also, last year's game, 34-10, this is still the same defense. So, now the defensive coordinator is now head coach. I think Brian Kelly couldn't figure out Dabo. I don't think Freeman is ready for Dabo as well. I think it might be a good spot for Clemson to have a convincing win to try to sneak their way into the college football playoffs. The next one is a big game. I know you don't really play these games a lot, but it's a big game that's going down this weekend. And to speak of Brian Kelly again, Bama has to go into LSU right here. I love to see Big Ragoo in the chat. We talk a lot about he talked a few weeks back about LSU playing at home on late games right here. Now they're playing this Bama team who, Saban is what he is, Bama is what they is, but hey, they're not covering people in the passing game like most Bama teams have done in the past. And the offense is not clicking on all cylinders like they used to be. So this could be a spot right here where my man Brian Kelly, he knows what to do versus Bama. He's been blown out by him and beat by him. And the second time he played him, the main thing he did was slow the game down, and keep trying to get an opportunity for his team to win. So I kind of lean some weird way taking Brian Kelly plus the points right here versus Alabama in his first. I mean, this is the whole reason why he came to LSU was to be able to compete against Alabama with players that are sized appropriately to compete against them. So his coaching methods and techniques and stuff, they work really well. I mean, we're seeing that late in the season, first year with this team, and right now, Kelly's doing a great job with LSU right now. A lot of times right here, it was unexpected. And one of the biggest things that I've seen he done is come back from being down. I mean, he went down 14 and still beating teams by more. And that was his whole thing at Notre Dame, is that he can get the team in position to win, but it all matters if the players can go out there and get the job done. So at LSU, he's supposed to be in a position right here where he's going to get the athletes that's going to go out there and secure the game for him. So you're giving him, let's see, 12 and a half now at home. He has a 52% chance of winning this one right here. I like it. Give me the points with LSU. I got to back my old coach Kelly. He's 6-2 with this team at this point versus the Alabama team. But this Alabama team is hungry because, you know, they've been disrespected in a lot of ways, especially in that Tennessee game. So I kind of like LSU plus the points right there. I got to give you a little bit of Mountain West. I wouldn't be right if I didn't give you no Mountain West. And I'm going to go back for this San Diego State team. Only a 6-point favorite versus UNLV. I got to do a little research, make sure the quarterback's still out right there with UNLV. I mean, he meant everything to UNLV and what they were trying to get done over there. And him missing, they just went the whole other way. This San Diego State team, they're coming off a tough loss last week that they should have won and let the game get away from them. But the fact of the matter is, as banged up as they say San Diego State offense is, they still been able to have the ability to score points. And they always come packing that physical defense that a lot of teams are just not ready for. So if you don't got your starter Brumfield in there and you playing this physical defense, no way UNLV is going to come into San Diego State and win. And I also think that San Diego State, after letting that game slip away last week, they definitely don't want to let it slip away this week, and they can cover the 6.5. And the 6.5 been standing still this whole time. You heard those? I went a little bit over LSU and a little bit over San Diego State and UNLV. You got anything shoot from the hip on those?
As far as not really the LSU Bama one. I mean, I heard what you're saying. LSU does look like they're progressing. They look like they're playing a lot better. They're coming together as a team. Bama, yeah, definitely not the same Bama team. Definitely not as physical defensively. But still, I mean, does LSU have enough to beat them right now? I mean, that's tough. You know, I still like the quarterback over there. I like Young over there at Alabama. I would still lean towards Alabama myself. But the other one with San Diego State, tough loss against Fresno State last time out. You know, how do they bounce back? Homecoming here against UNLV. So big game for them. A team that over the last few seasons, I definitely look to bet unders with. A team that runs a really slow pace. They look to run the ball efficiently and stop the ball. And so the two things that really look at under, you know, they rank 123rd in the nation in passing yards this season, just 141 yards per game. Really, that's not going to get you an over. They average their 128th in seconds per play, 29.5. So a lot of things that are going to tell me if this is a team that's going to be controlling the game, I'm going to be leaning towards the under. So you're the one that kind of got me looking at it. I'm debating an under, but I mean, I just can't take all the 40s under, you know.
But not to mention too, San Diego State, a good team that is about field position and possession and punting. So they rather you know, a lot of these teams nowadays with this new algorithm stuff, they leaving us high and dry on fourth and ones and 4th and 4s that they really should have punted. They're now going for it because of the algorithm. San Diego State, not that team. They still old school. They rather put their defense on the field and pin you up inside the 10 than to go for it on, you know, 4th and 2, 4th and 4. So I think that's another good reason why to take the under with that squad too. But the UNLV team, only thing that I can really say for UNLV is they're athletic. They have some good athletics over there. So you can get certain players to make big plays and all that weird stuff every now and then. But like I said, I like San Diego State. And the only other one that I like this week on this one, shooting from the hip, is Penn State over Indiana. Indiana's kind of falling off right there. Another one of those teams where some players going, you know, they have some decent players over there. They're going to be they're going to be moving, into what they're doing next year. You got a Penn State team that's hungry. You're only putting 2 touchdowns in front of them, and they've been playing great on the road this year. Something that they've been kind of backwards than they usually are. They usually play great at home, and they're kind of shitty on the road. But this year they've been playing great on the road. I think it's a good spot for me to catch them on the road again. Giving up 14 is a lot of points to give up, but you're talking about a very good team versus a mediocre team. And in the Big Ten, in a lot of these conferences, the top and the bottom are really cutthroat. You got your bottom feeders, you got the ones at the top. Except for in the Big 12 right now. The Big 12, they pretty solid all the way through. But that's it for me right there, shooting from the hip. You got anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'm gonna shoot from the hip one time. A game I haven't really dug into. I bet these teams a lot this season, though. When you were talking the games, I kind of I wanted to talk about it, but I didn't dig into it. So I'm glad you do have the segment. It's actually gonna be Colorado State, San Jose State. You look at these teams. Colorado State is 7-1 to the under. San Jose State is 5-2 to the under. Colorado State's only averaging 12.5 points per game, really not getting it done. So a big part of that. So, I'd have to dig in a lot more, but San Jose State has been a good under team. You want something later in the evening, that would be probably one I'm on.
Yeah, I had a big dumb play last week. Maybe I was ill and something was wrong with my mind, but for some reason I thought Colorado State could either play a little defense or play a little better on offense to be able to cover against Boise State. The guy T. Green, not a very accurate passer. The way they played their zone allowed him to get open spots and kind of pick it apart, made him look like a superstar out there. And I want to say I kind of lean fading this guy all the way out because his bad is bad. I mean, his second time out, he couldn't really throw the ball at all, and they had the result to the naked bootleg. He's really good on his feet, but last week he just got a chance to shine, and Colorado wouldn't stick it to him. I was kind of leaning towards and Big Ragoo said, "You taking that guy? I know you don't like that guy, but I don't, what's his name over there? I can't even think of it right away, but he was saying that he felt that the quarterback is accepting the offense very similar to how Carson Strong did when he was at Nevada, and he had good hopes on him. That's why I thought that he can get out and keep a couple points on the board to stay within that 27. But that guy, the quarterback over there, he's a punk, straight out. He's a punk because you don't lead your team like that. You young. I'd rather a player go out there like Green did and make a couple of mistakes, throw a couple of interceptions, or do something like that. Don't just go out there and underperform, hold the ball too long, don't throw the ball to make any kind of play. Any great coach will tell you, I don't care what happens, make a play. You know what I'm saying? Make a decent play. And quarterbacks always have the option of throwing the ball where only their receiver can get it, and it gives the athlete a chance to make a play. And he wouldn't even allow the athletes to make a play. So that just shot it for me. But my angle on them was that they hadn't been scoring a lot in each game, and I think they could stay under in that game. I like that under too, Nolly. Only other thing we're going to say before we get out here, and we say this every year, my man Nolly taught me this as well. If you want a good under, take these military games. So Army and Air Force is playing. Hey, if you never tried it, give it a try. If you would have tried it earlier in the season, you would have cashed. So I think we got another shot right here that we put that military under down, and also because I'm Mountain West, take Air Force as well. But Air Force really pissing me off because they have the athletic talent on offense to get it clicking, but it's like they don't want to do it. Like they so caught up in just being military people, they can't let their pants sag a little bit and go out there and really get after some of these defenses. Zeke Daniels, he could throw the ball up and down the field, and he doesn't do that. He can run the ball up and down the field. What they want to do, keep giving it to Roberts on the dive and hoping that he gets yards. If you're a running team, you either go inside. When inside don't work, you go outside. You either going to stretch them to the side or you're going to run it down their throat. You got to choose one. You can't just sit there and keep playing mediocre games for the whole game and think you're going to win. At some point, you got to put 10 toes down and say, we putting the women and children to bed and we're going to get dinner. You know what I'm saying? So you running on that under, a little sprinkle on that under. It's an early game. It starts 30 minutes before all the other games, so you get your little early money in right there and have a good Saturday. You gonna go ahead and add on that one?
I'm gonna have to take a look. But yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what you see all the time. You know, these military games, more so Navy, Army. You know, it's a little bit after the season ends. You know, in between the bowl games, that's typically the one. No matter what, they've been putting it lower and lower every year. Some years you even get snow in that game. But pretty much all the military games, a lot of unders. They get really physical. They take a lot of pride in what they do, and they don't want to lose. So. And defense is effort. I talk about that a lot. So these guys are going to give 110%. So that's why you see a lot of defense.
Yeah, and I said it in the last Air Force game, and I was like, unless there's some, because I thought that they would run right through Navy. And I said, unless there's some sick military thing where when these two teams get together, they play some kind of weird military game and Air Force won't cover. And sure enough, they got together, they played some weird military game. It went under, and Air Force didn't cover. So I'm back to get a refund on my military money right here, and I'm going to stick on the underside and sprinkle a little bit on the Air Force right there. But that's it for us today. Nolly, it's been a wonderful show with you here, man. You know, you're always welcome right here on Who-Bangin Sports Talk. We hope to have you back sometime. And when we get the real Ragoo back, we're going to have you back with the real Ragoo too.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just a part-timer right now. Like I mentioned, a little protege, learning from you guys, learning a lot. You know, college basketball, I love it. You know, it's something that I started on. I don't focus on as much anymore, kind of drifted away from it, but always love talking college football with you.
Absolutely, man. And to mention college basketball too, though, we're gonna be coming back. Well, my man Parlay Teece, we're gonna give him a shot at doing a college basketball show with me and my man Teece. And I'll tell y'all right now, made a lot of money last year on some shit I learned from my man Nolly knows in college basketball betting unders. So stay tuned for that show, and you'll definitely. I got my little sheet that y'all seen earlier for college basketball to do just that. So y'all stay tuned for that. Make sure y'all look for my man Wham Bam out here doing the NBA every Wednesday. He was on sometime today. I'm not sure what time. If it's now, he might be on right now, but he's on sometime today with a show on Wednesdays, and he's also on Pub Sports NBA show. So check out my man Wham Bam. Be back on Sunday right here. 12:30 in the afternoon on the West, 3:30 on the East. That's when we do our NFL thing. Come on the NFL show, Nolly. I know Sundays is tough for a lot of my cappers. You know, I didn't even recognize how everybody has their traditions of what they do with the NFL, so they're usually not available on Sunday. But when you get available, hop on with me and Dom. We talk a little bit about what's been going on in the first half of the games and what we're looking forward to in the second half of the games. You know, shits and giggles. You know, talking with Don Ricci, you talk a lot of bet angles, trends. You know, a lot of stuff just outside of picking the right side. A lot of information and learning goes on that show, and we have a good time. We had my man Dave Rogers on there from Nerd Talk a few weeks ago when I was on there, and we had a great show with him speaking on some stuff. I had to give him my Geno Smith spiel, and look at Geno, man. Geno is doing this thing right now, but fading them this week. But let us get on out of here. We went way over what I planned to go. I thought it was going to be 30 minutes and out on this one, but here we go at an hour again. So thanks, Nolly, for showing up right here. I'm going to go ahead and send us out of here.
Thanks for having me, man.
Peace. You going to be anywhere this week? Any shows or anything going on other than King Cappers?
Nah, not right now. I'm a little low key, you know? Low key right now.
Y'all know y'all better line it up and get ready. Make sure you go follow Nolly Knows on Twitter because MLB will be done and starting over again before you know it.
Oh, yeah, but college basketball is right around the corner. We counting down, baby. It's 5 days left.
There we go. November 7th. Let's go. Peace.
The Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show. Here we go.